What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 24 driver career mode, and we are finally back for round number 5 of our first season at Haas F1 team. It's been a while since we've done one of these. Last time out we were in Japan, and well, it's been so long since I've recorded one of them. I don't remember exactly how the race unfolded, but I do remember that we finished plumb last. It was a very, very difficult race for us. Things did not go well whatsoever. And to be honest with you, that's feeding in quite a lot to the reason why it's been so long since I last did one of these. There was an update to the game. I really struggled to get on top of it in terms of my driving style and my setups and things like that. And it really killed my motivation to play the game for a long time. But I am very blessed that I have a lot of really awesome people around me who, you know, were really keen on helping me get back to a level where I felt comfortable playing this game again, where I actually wanted to enjoy myself while playing the game and that kind of thing. You know, they helped me out with things like setups and strategies and controller settings, all of these different things. So yeah, a big shout out to those guys. I'm sure some of them maybe will be watching this video as well. So yeah, they're all absolutely awesome, really helpful, and they are the reason why we're now back here ready for the Chinese Grand Prix. It's the first time the Chinese Grand Prix has been on the calendar since 2019. So yeah, 5 years since the last time Chinese Grand Prix was on the calendar. Of course, in previous iterations of the game, the Chinese Grand Prix was present, which means that we were able to race it when you do alternative calendars, but in terms of the official F1 calendar, it's not been on there for a little bit of time. We're currently in P11 in the championship. I fully expect us to probably stay there today. I think we've got to the point now where it's going to be quite difficult for us to score points. We got pretty lucky in the first couple of races of the season, grabbing that P6 and that P9, but I don't envision a world in which we're going to score points again for a little bit of time now. I think the team has kind of fallen back a little bit in terms of the performance of the car, so it's going to be tricky for us to get ourselves into a good position. But if, you know, maybe we can nick a point here or there, I think we will probably be able to finish ahead of the likes of Alpine and RB, who are probably, I would say, our biggest rivals in this championship fight. Maybe the Williams and the Saubers as well, but they've been a little bit further behind, I would say. And here is the results of practice. You can see that we were P10, but on a soft set of tyres, we were narrowly behind the likes of Gasly and Joe, which was perhaps a little bit concerning. But you know, it's only practice 1 at that. You can't take too much away from it. I didn't think it was an absolutely terrible practice session by any means. And you know, we were just able to do our practice, get a few runs in, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to sort of deliver a similar qualifying performance to the practice performance we've delivered there. If we can get ourselves into Q2 and maybe finish sort of P11 or P12, maybe even sneak into Q3 if we can, that would be a really good result for us, I think. You know, China's not one of my strongest circuits historically as well. You may remember on last year's game, I just struggled immensely to find the pace around China. Now, of course, it is a sprint weekend, so not only will we be doing qualifying now, we'll actually be doing another qualifying session later. This is another reason that fed into why I kind of struggled to get the video out for so long. I had the video recorded for quite some time, but editing down 2.5 hours of footage into a concise video is impossible, and that's why this video is 47 minutes long, because yeah, it's very difficult. Our first flying lap in Q1, we were very comfortably able to get through to SQ2, I should say, P9. I think Nico Hulkenberg may have been out there though, unless he's in P15. Yep, it's going to be P20 for Nico Hulkenberg, right at the back of the field for him. A very disappointing result for the German, who I'm sure would have wanted to have done a little bit better than that, but he joins both of the Saubers and the Williams, who have been knocked out in SQ1 as well. Hopefully for us, we'll be able to sort of contend in and around the fringes of the top 10 here in SQ2. Once again, only doing 1 flying lap. That's kind of what I identified to be the best sort of strategy to do here in sprint qualifying. Just do the 1 lap. There's not really time in some of the sessions to even try and do 2 laps. So yeah, we did our flying lap in SQ2, and that is going to be good enough to put us P6. So yeah, pretty solid result there. It's got us through to SQ3 very comfortably, actually, out qualifying quite a lot of the Formula A guys that you might expect us to be a little bit further behind. But you know, we're ahead of the likes of Sainz, Alonso, Hamilton, Piastri. We've knocked Stroll out of qualifying, who I think would have been pretty annoyed not to have made it into SQ3, given that he is in one of the comfortably top 5 cars on the grid. And then, you know, it is a very Noah's Ark knocked out section with Ricciardo and Tsunoda, followed by Ocon and Gasly for RB and Alpine respectively. But yeah, we've made it through to SQ3. Very solid result from us, and maybe if we can get a good result here in SQ3, we could be looking at starting in a point-paying position for the sprint. It's probably quite unlikely, but you never know. We might be able to strategically position ourselves in a good spot. So as we round the final corner, what kind of time is it going to be? We're going to cross the line. Definitely wasn't pole position. It was a 132.2 or 132.3. Only P9. Wow. Okay, that doesn't. That wasn't quite what I was expecting. I was thinking we'd maybe do a little bit better than that, but it's okay, and we'll see where that puts us at the end of SQ3. 3 tenths ahead of Fernando Alonso, and I mean, look at the gap there between pretty much everyone from P2 down to P9. There's sort of 2 tenths in it between Verstappen and myself. Piastri, of course, grabbing sprint poles, so maybe he'll be able to convert that into a sprint victory. And for myself, you know, we were only less than 5 tenths off him, but we are 8 positions lower than him. So yeah, a very, very close grid. Fernando Alonso being the sort of sole outlier there. But I'm quietly optimistic that maybe we'll be able to bring the fight to the guys in front. So we'll see what we can do as we get into the sprint.
Forget pit stops, forget fuel management. It's pedal to the metal all the way here as we get ready for today's sprint. Shanghai International Circuit then is a 16-corner high-speed thrill ride. The long and ever-tightening right-hander at turns 1 and 2 tests the driver's patience, and the flat open to the elements location tests their skill in a crosswind. 2 DRS zones will assist passing, and they're available into turn 1 and down the kilometre-long back straight into turn 14. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's sprint. Oscar Piastri lines up on pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who will start from P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Perez, Russell, Hamilton, Norris, Leclerc, Robinson, Fernando Alonso, Stroll, Ricciardo, Tsunoda, Ocon, Gasly, Joe, Albon, Bottas, Sargent, and Nico Hülkenberg rounds off the grid. Which of these drivers will get pole position today? We will soon find out. Welcome to the commentary box. I'm Alex Jakes. Alongside me is Anthony Davidson. So, a sprint race today, and that means lights to flag, no stops. And how is that going to affect the driver behind the wheel?
Absolutely. So for today, there's no pit stop, or shouldn't be a pit stop anyway, if things go right, and you can forget about strategy. You're just driving today as fast as you can, make those overtakes if you need to, and that's what a sprint weekend's all about.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down.
Feel like maybe they could have got Anthony Davidson to re-record that voice line once or twice just to make sure that he wasn't all over the place like he was in the final take they ended up using. But maybe they were running a busy schedule, I don't know. Either way, here we are getting ready to go out on the formation lap. We're going to be taking a set of mediums to the end. I wasn't particularly confident in the performance of the soft compound tyre, given that they are only supposed to be able to do 9 laps before completely dying. And it's a 10-lap sprint race. So yeah, the mediums, kind of a no-brainer. If anyone has gone onto a set of soft tyres, then, you know, power to them. But that's not how I'm going to roll in this race, I don't think. So yeah, we're going to make our way onto the grid, line up and see what we can do. I think, you know, points probably not on the cards here today unless we can really show some better pace than I'm expecting. But if we can stay with the top guys, then I'll be pretty happy with that. So it's time to see what we can do now as the lights come on. And the lights go out. And we've had a decent start there compared to Charles Leclerc, I think. But Fernando Alonso has had a blinding start, and he's already up into P8 ahead of myself and Charles Leclerc. I think Leclerc might get him back up the inside through turn 1. And yeah, we just got caught napping a little bit there by Fernando Alonso. That is a blinding start, lightning start from Fernando Alonso. Absolutely incredible stuff from the 42-year-old in the Aston Martin. Really solid stuff. And yeah, we're kind of being left behind by this top pack a little bit, but I'm going to try and have a bit of a go against Charles Leclerc now, see if we can get ahead of him up the inside, but we're a bit too far back to really commit to the move. Meanwhile, we've got Ricciardo and Stroll directly behind us as well, so we can't lose too much time in this fight, otherwise we might be susceptible to being knocked out of the top 10, which is not what we want. You know, I reckon 10 laps we could easily hold on to being in the top 10, especially if Stroll and Ricciardo are going to be battling away like they have been just then. You can see now they're 8/10 down on me, and maybe we're about to break out of their DRS range. I'm going to dive up the inside not only of Charles Leclerc, but I also tried to go for a move on his teammate Lewis Hamilton. See, this is kind of what I was talking about before. So I recorded this before I kind of fixed a lot of the issues I had, so my driving is still kind of a little bit all over the place, and you know, struggling with things like braking points and stuff like that. So yeah, really tricky for me at the moment to kind of get myself into a good rhythm. So if you see me doing a bit of questionable driving, that's why. Ultimately, the move that I went for on Leclerc didn't pan out either, and yeah, Hamilton, that was a bit of a dream, really, more than anything else. But already the top sort of 6 cars have broken away from this battle here between Hamilton, Leclerc and Alonso, and the longer I can stay in the DRS range of these guys while they're battling, the more likely it is that I'm going to be able to beat the likes of Ricciardo, Stroll and all the other cars that are currently behind me. So Alonso, Leclerc still battling away here on lap number 4. So we've made our way quite significantly through here, and I'm actually going to try and go for a move here on Charles Leclerc. He was battling so much with Fernando Alonso that it's actually cost him quite a lot, but still, you know, he manages to have the free space in front of him to try and go for a bit of a later braking move. I had to make sure that I broke earlier so I didn't go into the back of Fernando Alonso, and that has held me up quite massively, to be honest. And now we're maybe kind of going to come under a bit of pressure from Daniel Ricciardo here. But either way, Alonso and Leclerc still battling away. I think Hamilton is kind of broken away into a bit of a no man's land, maybe even closing up to the back of his teammate George Russell, who's currently in P6. We've got a Red Bull leading the charge at the moment, and in fact, for Oscar Piastri to get sprint pole, he could be no higher than 4th by the looks of things. So yeah, really disappointing turn of events for the pole sitter here today. But speaking of Australians, here comes Daniel Ricciardo. He's going to go for a move up the inside, down into the chicane. And, I mean, we gave him plenty of room there, so I don't know what he was doing, but he has broken his front wing there. Really nothing I could have even done about that with Daniel Ricciardo, because, you know, we gave him so much room, and still he managed to dive into my tyre. So, yeah, I think that one really has to be placed on Daniel Ricciardo. So as we make our way back past Daniel Ricciardo now, up the inside, kind of snuck our way through into turn 2. We're going to make our way back into the top 10, but obviously only points awarded to the top 8 in a sprint. So yeah, it's not really going to make too much of a difference, I don't think. Despite having the broken front wing, Ricciardo has actually stayed with us quite well. Meanwhile, I assume Piastri must have got damage or something like that, because he's made his way down all the way into P8 now, and he's on the fringes of falling out of the points as Daniel Ricciardo looking for a move on me up the inside into turn 1. Not going to quite get it done, unfortunately. Turns 1 and 2 are probably my strongest corners on the entire circuit, so it'll be very difficult for anyone to really get past me there. And as we switch to the replay camera, you can see this is actually Daniel Ricciardo retiring from the race very shortly after that attempted move on me. You can see as we make it towards the back straight of the track, Daniel Ricciardo is going to be pulling off the circuit, and that will be the end of the sprint for Ricciardo. I wonder, really, could his engine was so severe, the issue, that he couldn't go one more lap around here. Yeah, really unfortunate for Daniel Ricciardo, because he did probably have a chance to get a top 10 finish here today. But for myself, it looks like it will be a top 10 finish, which is actually a lot better than I was expecting around here as we make our way round onto the back straight. However, Stroll is right behind us, and he's going to have the DRS as well. So we actually could be about to lose this top 10 on the final lap to somebody who didn't even look like he was really even in the mix for the top 10, and it could get even worse than that because TSUNODA is going to go for a move on us up the inside. Ricciardo's teammate looking to avenge his fallen comrade perhaps, but unfortunately it's not quite going to happen for him today. Stroll has gonna get ahead of me, unfortunately. Going to make his way up into P10. So as we come to the line, we're going to have to settle for P11 here in the sprint. At the end of the day, neither position would have afforded me any points. It's just unfortunate that we couldn't hold on to a top 10 because maybe it's an indication a little bit of what might happen in the race itself.
The end of the sprint action. Next up, we will set the grid for the Grand Prix. We'll see you next time.
So yeah, there's your final order: Verstappen, Sainz and Perez, your top 3, myself finishing P11 just outside of the top 10, and Nico Hülkenberg all the way down there, last of the finishers in P19. But now it is time for us to get into the second qualifying session of the weekend for the race itself. This is the deviation between last year's game and this year's game. Obviously the sprint qualifying format did exist in the previous year of actual Formula 1, but it was not the case in the game. They didn't have time to implement it because I believe they actually announced the format at Baku. So that was the first time that anyone was even aware that the format was going to be changing, was at the sprint weekend. They were like, oh yeah, by the way, we're just running a completely different format this weekend. And that has just been the sprint format ever since. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of it. I think 2 qualifying sessions and 2 race sessions is just a bit too much. So yeah, as we make our way onto our final flying lap of Q1, it's looking like we are going to be very comfortably through here, currently in P11, and we're improving by a very fractional amount on a second set of soft compound tyres, going to be about 0.05 of a second as we come on the run to the line. 1:33.0, not the best time that we've done so far this weekend, but you know, it doesn't really matter. We're through in P11 with no real issues. I'm hoping that the performance that we showed in sprint qualifying maybe can be an indicator of our ability to get through into Q3 once again, but at the moment, not breaching the top 10 as Charles Leclerc goes fastest there. But what of Nico Hülkenberg is the question here, because yeah, once again he's plumb last, and actually he's way further off of Logan Sargent than he was before, all the way down in P20, 3/10 behind Logan Sargent, Zhou Guanyu, Bottas and Alex Albon, the remaining cars that got knocked out there in Q1. Let's see what we can do here in Q2. Can we get ourselves through to Q3? Once again, we will find out. But as we make our way to the finish line on a used set of soft compound tyres, is 1:34.2, so we're going to need a significant improvement on our second flying lap around here if we want basically any hope of making it through into Q3. And I mean, we're going pretty well. We are almost a second up, but you can see that Lance Stroll has done a 1:32.8. That is about 1.4 seconds faster than us, so that's the level of improvement we need to be looking at here if we want basically any shot of making it through. Yes, we're probably going to find a bit more improvement around some of these corners, but you can see I went a little bit wide there. That's held us up quite significantly as well, and as we round the final corner, you can see the improvement is only going to be about 1.2 seconds. There's 1:33.0. That's not going to be good enough to get us through, and indeed it's only good enough for P12, and so we have been knocked out here in the second qualifying session, and yeah, really disappointing, unfortunately, as Piastri and Norris make it a McLaren 1-2 in that session. We'll see if they can convert that for the race itself, but yeah, for me, just a little bit too far off. Ricciardo actually making it through into Q3, so yeah, really solid performance from him, but we needed an extra couple of tenths there if we wanted any chance of making it through. I know that the performance was there, I know it was possible, but I really just couldn't string a good enough lap together, unfortunately. So we will be joining Stroll, Gasly, Ocon and TSUNODA in the drop zone, and you know, now we're going to have a bit of a task on our hands if we want any chance of grabbing some points when we get into the race.
The Chinese Grand Prix then is upon us once again. A race that saw Michael Schumacher claim his final Formula 1 victory in 2006, as well as Red Bull's first with Sebastian Vettel in 2009. There's no doubt plenty more drama to come here in Shanghai. We're here in the Yangtze River Delta today, home of the 16 corners that make up the Shanghai International Circuit. 54% of this 3.3 mile lap is taken at full throttle, and we'll be getting up to speeds of around 200 miles per hour with DRS assistance down the back straight before the cars break into the tight hairpin at turn 14. the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Lando Norris put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he will start from pole position. A very happy Carlos Sainz will start second. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Perez, Fernando Alonso, Leclerc, Oscar Piastri, Hamilton, Verstappen, Russell, Stroll, Robinson, Gasly, Ocon, Tsunoda, Albon, Joe, Sargent, Hulkenberg, Bottas, and Daniel Ricciardo fills the last spot on the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track. And so we welcome you to the commentary box. I'm Alex Jakes. Alongside me for this race, and it's going to be some race, is Anthony Davidson. Things seem comfortable. They seem stable right now. That's a positive. But do they need to be pushed to the next level? Now, those final hours before a race, did you have a routine?
Well, for them, you've got your pre-race rituals that you go through. You see different drivers that, some have got their headphones on, they're listening to the music. Some drivers really absorb the energy from the crowd and they're there waving to them. Other drivers, they go within themselves. They chat to their engineers, absorbing that information, that vital information that you need to carry you through the race. And, those pre-race rituals are essential to making things systematic. We do a lot of Grand Prix in a season, and the more systematic you can be, the easier you are within that environment.
Right, well, here we are down on the grid once again for the second time this weekend. It is going to be a medium-hard strategy. Anyone who tells you to use the soft compound tyre, especially around China, is trolling you. Please do not do that, because you will have a horrible, horrible time. You will not enjoy yourself, and it really just is an unpleasant experience all around. Take that from somebody who has persistently tried to use the soft compound tyre in races on this year's game and failed miserably every single time. We're going to be doing a medium hard. It's not up for debate. And yeah, here we are. We are now going to get ready to go. A few guys starting on the hard compound tyres here. I have never been a fan of starting on the hard compound tyres in a Formula 1 game. The few times I have, I've always regretted it. And the reason why is because if there's an early safety car, you are just really in trouble. Because everyone will be able to box. At this track, it's projected that the hard compound tyres can do 26 laps. So think about it from that perspective. If there's a safety car on lap number 3, if you start on the hard compound tyres, you can't box, but anyone who starts on the mediums can. So yeah, that's the issue with starting on the hard compound tyres. So we'll see what we can do once again as the lights come on. And the lights go out for the second time this weekend, and this time I think we've had maybe a little bit better of a start than we had the first time around. We actually seem to be putting a bit of pressure on Lance Stroll here, and I think maybe we're going to make our way up into P10 here, but Lance Stroll, he's biting back. He's not prepared to just take this one lying down, and we're going to try and go around the outside of the likes of Russell and Verstappen here. Are we going to be able to make up any of these moves? We have the inside of the next corner, but are they going to be able to go around the outside, Russell and Verstappen? Yes, they are, but we have made the move on Lance Stroll, so we have made up at least one position here on the opening lap. Meanwhile, it seems like there's a Ferrari out in front. It's Carlos Sainz, actually, as we dive down the inside of Max Verstappen and George Russell. But George Russell does manage to hold on to the position. We weren't quite committed enough to that one to be able to pull away from George Russell on this occasion. Meanwhile, I think Max Verstappen is going to try and put some pressure back on us. But we've made our way up into a points-paying position here in P9. And now it's a question of whether we can hold on to this and stay ahead of Max Verstappen for very long. But you can see I'm really struggling with the traction around here. It is just not the ideal situation for myself here today. The medium compound tyres, they're pretty bitey, unfortunately. And yeah, you can see I had another bit of a moment there where I had a bit of oversteer and was kind of drifting through the corner. So I imagine it will be a question of when, not if, Max Verstappen overtakes me. He's a world champion and he won the sprint race, of course. That's something we haven't really acknowledged, but Max Verstappen was the victor of the sprint, so you would expect him to go pretty well in a full race as well. But we are managing to sort of hold our own with him right now, and we actually managed to stay ahead of him through the final corner there. Maybe it looked like I pushed him out wide, but I think I was more entitled to that corner than he was. So that's my justification for what I did there. Oscar Piastri finding himself down in P8 once again. He's really having a bit of a weekend to forget right now for somebody who looked so promising in qualifying. He's just not managed to really make it work for himself in the race itself. But yeah, as we make our way towards the end of lap number 2 now, you can see Max Verstappen with the DRS is going to maybe look for a move into turn 1, but we've got the inside line, and that gives me a lot of confidence that we'll be able to hold on to this move. And unsurprisingly, we make our way into P9 once again. Max Verstappen got ahead of us for a brief second, but it was not enough to commit fully to the move and hold on to the position. But we've been kind of knocked out of the DRS range of the cars in front right now, so it's this time I think Max Verstappen is going to be able to make this move and actually hold on to it. So yeah, pretty solid overtake for Max Verstappen with the DRS assisted, very straightforward for him, and we're knocked down into P10. But I do think that we can hold on to this. You know, we were probably a little bit better than Lance Stroll, I would say, over the course of the entire sprint race. We were just unfortunate that he pipped us right at the end. We've been given an objective here to hold on to our engine temperature, try to keep it low if we can. I'm not really sure how to do that, to be perfectly honest with you. So I'm just going to drive normally and hope that everything all works out fine in the end. But you can see we are over temperature at the moment a little bit. We have been for 2.2 seconds, so we'll see. I think on the back straight the engine temperature is definitely going to heat up to an untenable level, so I think we're going to be failing this objective pretty quickly, and you can see that it's going up and up and up, and there was nothing I could do about it. So I'm not going to worry about it too much. We've still got the DRS to the cars in front as well, so that's at least something. Lance Stroll is very close behind us though, and these cars are very close to breaking out of that DRS range to me. Although that said, Alonso and Piastri battling away ahead has maybe been a bit of a lifeline for me here. This is Zhou Guanyu in the Sauber. His race is coming to an end. Heartbreak for him, really, if you think about it, because of course this is his home race, and in real life, when we saw the Chinese Grand Prix, he was a hero here. Everyone absolutely loved him, and we're really excited to see him on the Formula 1 grid. But unfortunately, it'll be an early bath for him today, as the car gives up on him, and I'm sure that will be a lot of the home fans leaving early. You know, they came here to see him, and they will be very, very frustrated that things have not worked out for him here today. So yeah, Lance Stroll getting ahead of me there on lap number 7, but maybe we'll be able to hold on to him. But that said, he's already broken away by quite a lot. The medium tyres started to go off for me a little bit here as we make our way onto lap number 8. Yuki Tsunoda actually is trying to make a move on me into turn 2 as well, but he's not quite going to be able to pull that one off. We got a radio message there that Nico Hülkenberg is having some issues. That's a real shame, because he actually is having a decent race. I think at one point he'd made his way up into P15 or P16. You know, it's not fantastic, but when you consider that he qualified plumb last, finished plumb last, and then qualified plumb last again, for him to be able to actually not be in that position for at least some point this weekend was a good performance from him. But if that issue persists, I'm sure he will fall further down the order. Meanwhile, you can see Yuki Tsunoda just got ahead of me there. So we've been knocked down into P12, and this is not the ideal situation to find ourselves in. And I think he's just broken out of our DRS range as well, so we're going to be coming under a bit of pressure here from Tsunoda's former teammate, Pierre Gasly, as well. Gasly going to try and go for a move round the outside into turn 1, but we're quite close to him on this occasion, so I think maybe we'll be able to send it back up the inside of him, put ourselves in that position, and yeah, get it back ahead of the French driver. But I mean, at the moment, yeah, this race is kind of falling away from us, it seems. We're having a sort of similar situation to what always happens to me in China, or what always happened to me in China on previous years' games, which is that I just seems to fall further and further through the pack no matter what I did. But at least I'm feeling like things aren't as drastic as they were on previous years' games. I do feel a little bit better about the performance here today. Tsunoda, he is you know, somebody that we are being given an objective to overtake before lap 17, but I think this objective will be postponed because I am planning on coming into the pit lane at the end of this lap. Meanwhile, Pierre Gasly very, very close to us. Is he going to go for a move with the DRS? Actually, the answer is yes. I thought it was going to be no, but he did feel like he was close enough in the end to look for that move up the inside, and so yeah, we are going to be staying ahead of him just about, but then coming into the pit lane at the end of this lap, and we're going to be going on a set of hard compound tyres to the end of the race. I think this is a consensus shared by a lot of people on this year's game, that the hard compound tyres are by far the most enjoyable tyre to be on, so I'm quite looking forward to this next stint. If we can pull off maybe a few undercuts on the cars in front as well, because once again, the undercut meta is super powerful. You know, I bang on and on and on about it till the cows come home. But a bit of a slow stop there for us, unfortunately. 4.6 seconds, not what I was hoping for whatsoever. So that's going to maybe put us on the back foot a little bit. I was thinking that maybe we'd be able to undercut Stroll even, but I think now, unfortunately, you know, TSUNODA will probably be the best sort of target we can get on the undercut. And as we make our way towards the start of lap 14, you can see Max Verstappen was actually out of the session there. We'll see what happened to him in a minute, but we are right on the back of TSUNODA, even with that pit stop issue. So goodness knows where we would have been had that not been the case. And yeah, we're going to make our way through turns 1 and 2 ahead of Yuki TSUNODA and back into a net points paying position. So yeah, very, very happy with that. We're about to see Max Verstappen off the track there, and we will have a look at a replay in just a moment to see what happened with the Red Bull driver. So yeah, it was just a mechanical failure. I think maybe engine, I'm not sure. I'm not seeing any smoke coming out the back of his car, to be fair. So maybe this was gearbox. You know, you don't see too many gearbox failures, but they do happen. So yeah, Verstappen out of the race, and well, heartbreak for him, because obviously it was a victory in the sprint, but he will not be scoring anything in the full race, and that will really be putting a dent in his championship hopes, which you know, it's 5 races now, and he is not really in the championship fight even, from what I understand. Meanwhile, the sister team driver Yuki TSUNODA making his way up into what is P15 on track, but net P10 in the race. So this is actually a big you know, decisive battle between myself and Yuki TSUNODA here, because this is really going to determine who gets that final points paying position, I think, now, especially with Max Verstappen out of the race. You know, this is suddenly a battle that has become way more meaningful, especially when you consider the ramifications for the championship. You know, RB and ourselves are locked into this battle that it really could go either way, I think, for the two of us, depending on how the season pans out development-wise and that kind of thing. So I would really like to beat TSUNODA here today if we can, but things are not looking like they're going to go that way at the moment, especially as it's looking like we might actually be breaking out of that DRS range from me. I think we do have the DRS on this lap, but we're coming under a bit of pressure from one of the I think it's the Williams of Albon, actually. I'm not sure whether it was Albon or Ocon there, but either way, we're coming under a bit of pressure from them. Lance Stroll comes out very fractionally ahead of us here, and I thought about putting some pressure on him into turn 2, but I couldn't quite do it, and that was a shame, because you know, we really wanted to get ahead of him, and if we hadn't had that pit stop error, we probably would have done. But now we're coming under pressure from Albon once again. Stroll has not only you know, overtaken TSUNODA, but he's broken away quite a lot. He's on the mediums to end this race, so he'll have a bit more pace, you would have to imagine. And yeah, as we go into the final corner, you can see that I defended that corner so aggressively that I ended up going off the track, actually. Alex Albon really sort of rattling my cage a little bit here, and that's allowed Yuki TSUNODA to break away here as well, out of that DRS range. So unless we can have a fast lap here, I think Yuki TSUNODA is just gonna break out of that DRS range, but he actually doesn't. However, we're still coming under pressure from Esteban Ocon despite that, and the more fighting we do with him, the more unlikely it's becoming that we are going to be scoring points here today, because we're going to fall further and further away from Yuki TSUNODA, which is not really what we want. We actually made a big contact there with Esteban Ocon, but I think it's not going to be too impactful to our race result in the end. I don't think either of us got damage, but this time I am outside of Yuki TSUNODA's DRS range, so this is really becoming a sort of difficult race for me now. You know, we're looking like we're not going to be scoring that point that really we should be getting. More contact happening with Ocon. We hit him twice through the space of that corner as he was desperately trying to get ahead of us, and this is all just holding me up further and further to TSUNODA. You know, I really, with Verstappen out of the race, with there being an opportunity to pick up that final point, it really should be coming my way. But the more I'm battling with the Alpines behind, the further behind Yuki TSUNODA I'm falling, and the less and less likely that final points position is becoming, as Ocon is putting more and more pressure on me here, and there just seems to be absolutely nothing that I can do to stem the tide. You know, they're on the medium compound tyres, which is giving them a bit of a pace advantage over me, unfortunately. And Yuki TSUNODA, the only driver around me who's also on those hard compound tyres, you know, he's being allowed to break away because of all of this battling. At one point, I actually asked myself, should I let the Alpines through and then hope that their tyres go off towards the end, and then maybe at that point I can think about, you know, trying to get them back towards the end of the race. But that really didn't seem like a particularly viable strategy. So we had no choice but to try and battle on with them. Pierre Gasly now making his way up into P11, and Ocon's going to go for the move as well. So this is really falling away from me here now, this race, as Gasly, I think he's actually pulled off the overtake. Ocon we were able to get back ahead of. We are going to have the DRS to Gasly through the next straight though, so maybe, just maybe, there is an opportunity for us here to hold on to P11, and I think we're going to go for the move into turn 1 up the inside. He's going to have the outside, which is going to allow him to carry a little bit more speed through here initially, but the inside line reigns supreme for me once again. And as we make our way onto lap number 23, we are still running in P11. Can we hold on to this position? Can we maybe close down Yuki Tsunoda? He just seems to be getting further and further away. We picked up an objective to achieve an average lap time of 1:39.4. That should be very achievable, I think, as Gasly makes his way up into P11 once again. But I think once again I'm going to try and get him back with the DRS into the main straight. So yeah, Tsunoda just breaking away, and I think maybe what Gasly and I need to do now, if either of us want to score this point, is we need to work together, which I never really thought I'd say, but we need to work together to try and chain DRS off one another to try and close that gap to Yuki Tsunoda. We're not going to be able to do it alone, but you know, the more and more that we battle, the worse and worse it's going to get. So really, I probably should have let him stay ahead there, but the issue is, I'm worried that if I let him stay ahead of me for an entire lap, he is just going to break away from me. You know, I don't have the best pace through the middle part of this lap, so yeah, we need to try and be strategic about this. You can see that, just to give you an idea of what my pace was like now compared to most of the cars throughout the duration of the entire lap. On that lap, I lost, I think it was 8 tenths to Yuki Tsunoda between the sort of first couple of corners and the back straight, as it were, as Gasly's made his way back past me again. But once again, I think we're going to be able to hopefully get ahead of him into lap 25. But this time he's actually a lot further ahead of me, and maybe this time we are going to have to give up on our dreams of even a P11 now, as we fall down into P12. We're going to see if we can go for this move up the inside here on Pierre Gasly, but we've left it very late. And he's had a spin there. It looked like we made contact there, but you didn't hear anything. I don't think I touched him. I think he just dropped that on his own, and it was just coincidental that he kind of caved under the pressure there. But Gasly's had a spin. That will massively, you know, reduce the likelihood of Alpine scoring points here today now, even if there is a DNF in front, because Esteban Ocon is now their only hope, really, to even try and get ahead of me here. But I think he's going to give it a pretty good go. You know, I defend to the inside in the end. I wasn't sure what I was doing there. It looked like I was moving to the outside, but then I switched back to the inside. So maybe a bit naughty from me there, weaving a little bit. But Ocon manages to make the move regardless. And yeah, we're going to have to try and stay with him now. The medium tyres really by this point should be starting to go off for the Alpine driver. The hard compound tyres maybe in that sort of crossover window now that they are starting to be a little bit faster. But as we make our way up into up into P11 once again, we've just kind of gotten away with it here in terms of that same corner every single time seems to be the position where I'm able to defend myself, which is something I wasn't able to do on previous year's games. And as we pass the objective into lap 28, you can see that I've started to break away from the cars behind a little bit. It's actually Albon who's got ahead of Ocon. I think those medium tyres have started to go off a little bit, but we actually got a bit deep into to turns 1 and 2 there, which is going to cost us a bit of time to the cars behind, I think. And yeah, we're going to speed through the middle part of lap 28 a little bit here, I think, and yeah, just see what we can do, see if we can defend from Alex Albon on the final lap here. 8 tenths is the gap. I think we've got a pretty good chance of doing it, as Leclerc ends up winning the race. I think he's led home Lando Norris there, and then Carlos Sainz completes the podium. So yeah, it's been a difficult weekend for Red Bull, all things considered. You know, I know they had 2 cars on the podium in the actual sprint, but in the race itself, they don't seem to have really maximised their performance here. Just 12 points for the team, with Perez picking up all of them. Max Verstappen, of course, failing to finish the race. Alex Albon, he's not going to get ahead of us here. He wasn't close enough with the DRS, so as long as we don't get ourselves a penalty or anything like that around the final corner, we should be absolutely fine, and we're going to come on the run to the line to cross it to take P11 for the second time this weekend. A little bit disappointing that we couldn't beat TSUNODA to that final points paying position, because I definitely think a point was on the card here today, but you know, there's not much we can do when situations like that arise. We just have to take what we can get, and we move.
What a drive! What a driver! Charles Leclerc takes the victory.
You always look back at a race like this and think, if I just made that mistake there or looked up here, there would have been contact. And every one of those overtakes is a moment where you have to absolutely nail it, perfect it, and that's exactly what they're able to do today. Great stuff indeed.
Looking at the podium, you can see that red suit, familiar to fans across the globe. A world-class win for a world-class team. Ferrari, do it again.
Yeah, really decent performance from Charles Leclerc there, because I remember I don't think he qualified particularly high up the order. Like, I don't think he was in the top 3. Certainly on lap 1, I remember him sort of being in... In fact, he was battling with Alonso early on in the race, wasn't he? I remember now. It was him who was battling with Alonso, I think. Or was that in the sprint, maybe? I may be sort of getting my races confused. But either way, he definitely wasn't in the top 3 at the start of the race. So a really solid performance from him to make his way through the order and beating Norris and Sainz there.
And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula 1.
Well, we were the best driver of the weekend that didn't score a point, P11 and P11. A bit frustrating, but, you know, it is what it is. Yuki Tsunoda ended up picking up the final points paying position ahead of me. Nico Hülkenberg, in the end, with that issue that he was battling, finished P18. Really disappointing for him. He even got beaten by Pierre Gasly, who obviously had that spin in the latter stage of the race. I know that Hülkenberg did get ahead of Gasly temporarily, but Gasly's gapped him by 2 seconds. So, yeah, really disappointing. Here's what the driver's standings looks like. We're still in P11 with Leclerc and Norris and Perez separated by 1 point, the top 3, and 7 points separates the top 3 teams here as well, Ferrari, Red Bull and McLaren, with Aston Martin actually ahead of Mercedes at the moment. So Mercedes having a really shocking start to the season. We're just ahead in P6 in the Constructors as well, ahead of Alpine. You know, I really feel like Nico Hülkenberg maybe could start delivering some good performances here today. I feel like that maybe is where some of the issues are lying for us, is just Nico Hülkenberg not really delivering the kind of performances you would expect from him. Qualifying is usually especially where he thrives, and his qualifying, I think he's been out-qualified by me in every race except maybe Japan. I think Japan was the only weekend that maybe he out-qualified me so far. And it definitely was the only weekend where he outraced me, or maybe I think he outraced me in Australia as well, because that was another difficult weekend for me. But yeah, this is going to be the end of my my struggle bus times, I think, or at least if I'm slow now, it's because the car is slow, if that makes sense. I think I've gotten on top of my driving, my car setups, my controller settings, you know, all of these sort of variables that you need to be able to control in order to maximize your ability to perform in a Formula 1 Grand Prix. I think now I've managed to sort of get on top of a lot of those, so I'm pretty confident that when we go to Miami next time, we should be able to perform a little bit better. I'm hoping to have that video out sooner rather than later. I have not recorded that one yet, as I record these words on the 26th of July, which I'm hoping is also the day that the video is going to come out, but we will see whether that proves to be true or not. You know, it might be a few days before we see the Miami video, but I'm hoping it won't be almost a month, which is what it was since the last time we got one. Actually, Esteban Ocon got wing damage at some point during our battle there. I didn't see that, but yeah, it's unfortunate for him. You saw the wing fly off for Esteban Ocon on that occasion, so it was kind of impressive that he was still managing to battle us towards the end of the race. But yeah, like I said, it will be a few days maybe before Miami, because we're going to be interspersing the content not only with the streamers and co-VRL, which as I'm recording this is happening tomorrow, so that will probably be the next video that comes out on the channel, but also something a bit new for you and a bit different, and something maybe you were or weren't expecting, depending on how much you've been paying attention to what's coming along from me. I'm hoping to be uploading sort of cut down versions of my F1 Manager live streams. So if you guys are interested in F1 Manager, which maybe you are, maybe you aren't, I don't know, then there will be some videos coming to the channel based on F1 Manager. We recently did our first race in F1 Manager on my Twitch stream, Bahrain Grand Prix. It was pretty exciting. First time I've done any kind of content on F1 Manager. I have played the games, I kind of dabbled in them the last couple of years, but only ever did a few races on those. So yeah, we should be hopefully getting some F1 Manager content coming your way pretty soon. So yeah, let me know if you guys would be interested in seeing more of that. And if you want to watch those live, I will be streaming those on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/realmcopier. It's in the video description as well for you if you want to go and check that out. But yeah, those usually will be streamed on certain afternoons. I will post ahead of when I'm going live. I don't really keep a set schedule like that because I mostly focus on doing the YouTube videos, which you may or may not believe, depending on how tightly you've been paying attention to my schedule recently. But yeah, we had a pretty decent race weekend here, all things considered. You saw there, if you were paying attention to the screen as well, that I actually finished 3 positions ahead of my expected race finish, which was pretty decent. I think that points were on the cards here today, but it just goes to show that we are still delivering the kind of performance you would expect. We would have been 2 positions ahead of our expected race finish had it not been for that Verstappen DNF, of course. But we got to factor the DNFs in as well to those projections, because they do happen. We're completely equal now with our teammate now as well in terms of our sort of driver recognition. There's no number 1 driver here, no number 2 driver. It's all just equal, and I'm hoping that things will sort of stay the same, because I don't think that I deserve to be considered the number 1 driver this early on in the season, which is looking like the way it's going based on the performance I've been delivering. We managed to pass all of our specialist objectives here as well, which is pretty nice, and that will go a long way to hopefully helping us continue to improve the car and improve our performance in the races. So yeah, really solid weekend all around. Next up is going to be Miami, and that is going to be it for this video. So if you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.